Hello, Panthers, and welcome to the very first esports program podcast. I'm your host, Gage. Here with me is Andrew, our director, Alex, and Katrina. Introduce yourselves.
Ladies first.
My name is Katrina Rasmussen, and I have been with the esports for at least a year.
I'm Alessandra Valentine, but people know me by Alex. I've been with esports for at least half a semester, I want to say, because I didn't join until the end of last one, so.
Cool. I'm Andrew Nunn. I'm a coordinator of the esports program as well as a professor here at PCC. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be awesome.
And I'm your host, Gage Baker. I've also been part of the program for a very short time and somehow got lucky enough to host the very first episode of this podcast.
Yeah, man, that's great.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's finally here. So to kind of open us up, Andrew, would you mind explaining to the audience how the esports program started and where we are with it right now?
Sure. It started prior to me getting the position. Our former department chair, Mike Krakow, he submitted for the grant for our esports lab, our esports equipment. This is about 3 years ago. And from that point, we've just been trying to build the program and trying to build name recognition, build a community of gamers, because there's just a ton of people that game. I'll give you a quick thing about our program. Program allows you to play in our lab, leisurely, which means, like non-competitive, or you can play on our competitive teams that we have for the different games that are available. It's been really exciting. We've had a lot of success. The membership has grown each year, especially once COVID ended, because we started during COVID, and so it was like an empty lab. We had like 4 or 5 people that ever wanted to be involved. It was really difficult, but through all of the hard work and help of all involved, whether you're a work study or whether you're just a club member, everyone has been really helping out and creating an environment, a very inclusive. I would say I always like to use the term chill. It's like a chill environment. People come in, they just relax, they have fun, and it's really grown our club. All of you students, like the students that are here on this podcast, just really help and grow the club. It's amazing. I would say you guys give so many great ideas, and this podcast was an idea that someone had brought up maybe a year or so ago. We have some more ideas that are coming that we're going to try to bring to light, and so that's kind of quick overview. We have VR where you can do like the Oculus. We have, of course, PC games. We're going to start doing VR through the PCs soon. We have console games. You can actually bring in your console and play. If there's a console we don't have, you can bring yours in and play. It's just a really cool lab. We're in the GATC building, room 216. And we're open most days from about 9 a.m. to about 4:35. We'll probably eventually start extending hours a little further, as well as maybe one day a month we'll do a Saturday or something like that. But we're just growing. We have a newsletter, we have a website, and all these things you'll probably hear more about as we go along in the podcast. I don't want to be too long-winded, but I definitely wanted to give the information out. So I'm just here, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Sorry, you go on.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think you need to apologize for giving out that information, because if new people want to join and they hear this podcast, they're like, hey, I have the information to go and join the esports. And it's just pretty convenient that you give that information out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah. And that's the key. I think I always feel like I have. You guys ever heard of like an elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically what I have. If I talk to anyone, I'm like, esports, leisure, competitive, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what? And I usually end up just telling them, here's our website.
That's check it out in your own time.
Yeah, I've done that a few times as well, where during class and they have us introduce ourselves, I've turned it into a pitch to join the esports clubs.
I mean, I kind of do it just to advertise myself because, I mean, I'm an art major.
Right.
So I do a lot of things like draw, write, and started even voice acting and now podcasting because I'm here.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Voice acting is like a great opportunity. Again, we talked about it earlier, but that's something I've always wanted to try. Not necessarily because, it's probably easier than, normal acting.
yeah.
You still see some actors go crazy. Like, if you look at someone like Sam Witwer, whose biggest ones like Darth Maul and the Star Wars animated stuff, you see clips of him and Clancy Brown in the Clone Wars booth, and he's like sitting there going crazy, arms curled, like Kenobi, and then you have Clancy Brown like standing there like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like you see actors like that in the voice booth can be just as committed as someone on screen, and when the thing with being a voice actor or just normal actors, you have like you have to like put all of it into the rest of your body, not normally mastering one part. Voice actors, they're mastering their voice. They can do so much.
Absolutely.
You look at someone like Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's most known for his live action ones, but then he's Smaug in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And you can't tell it's him.
Yeah.
Until, like, you see it in the credits, yeah.
It's like, that was that guy? Or
Well, but you got to be more descriptive as well. As even like you're saying, like even with your voice inflections, it got to be much more because you don't have the body language.
You gotta, like, basically throw your voice. Like, if you gotta do an accent, you gotta do a British accent. If you gotta do, like, an Australian accent, which might sound a bit similar, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people right away, you gotta... Yeah, you think about that. It's kind of like anything else in life. You gotta probably vet it through someone that's actually British or someone's actually Australian.
Like,
they'll really know. They'll go, that doesn't sound right.
Like, to get that... Yeah, I feel like any voice actor out there would have to, like, do that in order to get the accuracy out of it.
Yeah.
So people are like, yeah, that does sound like us.
And think about that, like, if you were voice acting with video games or anything like that, God, man, like that's gonna be distributed throughout the entire planet.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but, like, here's the unique thing about video games with, like, voice acting, right? Because I feel like I feel like people who voice act for video games don't see the final product, because sometimes when you see behind the scenes for, people who voice act for anime, they see, like, the run back of the Japanese dub before they do the English dub, right?
Because they need to match, like, the lip smacking and, like, the movements. That's why, like, some dubs get made fun of, because in order to try and match those lips, you can't always do it acting for it as well, which is surprising when you get a good one. Like, a good one that always comes to mind is Cowboy Bebop, which I don't know, Andrew, how much you know about anime. I know
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
It's the big one where you have, like, Steve Bloom as the main character, and it's, like, considered one of the best anime dubs just because of how well done it is.
Yeah.
Despite being like an earlier anime, like 80s, 90s, where the lips are more detailed instead of the current animes, where it is more just like a lip flap.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. I can think of the ones I've seen. Like, I was a big Speed Racer fan, and you watch how fast they talk. Number one, the audio of it's really fast, and I think that was to make up for the lack of the drawing being detailed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the ones that I really enjoyed the voice actors for was Yona of the Dawn.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not one of the more mainstream animes, but the voice acting for it, I believe, was really well quality.
If you want to talk about low quality voice acting for anime, you guys remember Ghost Stories?
Oh my god.
Katrina already started laughing before I even said it. She knew exactly where I was going with this. We're going to talk about Ghost Stories.
Oh my god, I remember that so much.
Andrew, to fill you in, Ghost Stories, it was an anime dub that they did not try with. It was such low budget. They had like 5 actors doing everything. They didn't follow like a general script at all. It was basically an ad-lib like skit of the entire show. It's like I can't think of any specific examples right now, because it'll be like, little kids like crying and all that, and they'll be like, shut up before I drop kick you across the field. It's like that, and some of it I can't quote some of it because some of it ended up being abhorrently racist as a skit.
Right.
But it's such like a crack version, like by that term I mean, just changed entirely for comedy version.
Right.
Yeah.
It's basically the first abridged series.
Yeah.
Where you change the series so to make it shorter and more comedic. It was basically the first abridged series done in a professional format.
Some things are good when they're ridiculous.
Or like done with just one take, because sometimes if something's done with one take, it's like one of the funniest things ever. It'll just become an internet meme.
I'm old. I watched this show called Curb Your Enthusiasm, and that show is they give the actors like one sheet of paper, and then everything else is ad-libbed for the rest of the show. So you'll literally see them sitting there sometimes, and they can't even think of what to say. Somebody will say something so funny that they're like, "Okay, Larry," like that's all they can say, like because they can't think of anything else to say, or they'll say something so ridiculous that you're like, "That's just completely ridiculous."
I feel like actors, like changing some roles just for comedic content is great, or like trying to do something they think is better always makes it better. There are a few examples that come to my head. I think one of my favorite ones is from Marvel movies with Dave Bautista as Drax.
Right.
There are a few ones that he ad-libbed. I think the one he's most known for is Infinity War, when it's the Guardians versus Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. It's like, it starts like, "I'll give you one chance. Where's Gamora?" And Tony's like, "I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?" And Drax is on the ground with Iron Man's gun to his face going, "I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?"
And that was ad-libbed?
That was ad-libbed.
That's hilarious.
That's a good ad-lib.
That's great. And then two of those ones come to mind that aren't as funny. In Rogue One, K2SO's walking with Cassian and Jin and pretend they're prisoners.
Right.
And Cassian's like, "When you get out of here," and then the K2 turns and smacks him, and he's like, "That's another one for you if you mouth off again." And Diego Luna's hiding his face because he's like smiling, laughing behind his hand.
Oh.
And then one thing was in Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets. When Harry and Ron are disguised as Slytherins, Malfoy comes up to him,
right.
and Harry still has his glasses on. And he's like, "Why do you have glasses on, crap?" And he takes off, like, "Oh, sorry, I was reading." And then the actor for Draco, I forget his name, forgets his line. It's like an awkward pause. He goes, "I didn't know you could read."
I didn't know you could read.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite lines.
Oh my gosh.
Those guys I loved Malfoy. I actually have his wand. I went to the Harry Potter land out there in LA. That's the first wand I wanted to get was Malfoy's.
Harry Potter land would be fun. And you and I have talked about before that I would absolutely choose Galaxy's Edge. Like the Star Wars one.
That was cool. I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than I am, Harry Potter, but
I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than almost anything else.
Oh yeah, you're definitely a big Star Wars fan. Yeah, you are.
For those who don't know, Alex does not like Star Wars.
Okay, listen. It's not that I don't like it. That's a bit of a strong term.
You're part of the Empire, basically.
I just don't completely understand it. Like, I'll watch a few minutes of it, I'll be like, okay, I think I know what's going on. And then they throw something else in, and then my brain just immediately goes, wait, what?
Gabe, just take her on as her Padawan.
As a Padawan?
Yeah, just take her on. Then we'll be straight.
It's just more confused. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I cannot understand it.
Okay, well, what exactly don't you understand? Like, what have you tried to watch and then not understood?
I don't know. I just feel like I've watched small snippets of the movie, think I understand it, and then they immediately add something else to, throw everything that I thought I knew out the window.
It's a big world. I mean, you're talking about movies, books, TV shows, cartoons. It's a big world.
Even after Disney threw some of that out, like labeled old stuff as legends and made their own, it's still like so much, and especially more so, it almost encourages you. Old canon is like you could read it and you enjoy it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a huge Star Wars like super fan, but I do like Star Wars, and I enjoy watching it with my uncle, and I also used to watch it with my grandfather because they were real big fans. So
my dad grew up on it. He would have been 3 years old when New Hope came out in '77 because he was born in '74.
Right.
And then I just grew up and ended up loving it even more. It's basically the equivalent of my religion now.
Yeah.
I love it. Still have missed the past 3 Bad Batch episodes as of recording this.
Right.
But I still love Star Wars.
So your dad's
I am a
year older than me.
huge Harry Potter person, though.
I got my love of Harry Potter from my mom.
I love Harry Potter. Like I said, your dad's about a year older than me, and that's my dad. I grew up with a Trekkie as a father, so my dad goes to Star Trek conventions, speaks a little Klingon. Like, he's a total Trekkie, like 100%. Like, he would always say, if you can do this, you're a Vulcan, like in our house. If you can't, you're not. What's wrong with you? Why are you here? Right. So I grew up in both worlds, but I only like the original series, Star Trek. So I like the other ones are okay, but I like the original.
Do you know your house?
Oh, I am
Your
Gryffindor.
Hogwarts house?
Oh, I definitely know mine.
Yeah, I wanted to be Slytherin, but it didn't work out.
What'd you get?
I'm Gryffindor.
I haven't taken this quiz. I don't know what mine. If I had to guess, I'd probably say Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. But knowing my luck in life, I'd probably get Hufflepuff, the useless one.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're not useless.
Are you a Hufflepuff?
I think I'm like a mix between a Slytherin and a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
You're a dangerous person then.
Well, most of the time I'm a Hufflepuff. It takes a lot to turn me into a Slytherin.
like Marvel's Capcom today.
But doesn't it feel like me? The reason I want to be a Slytherin, I feel like it's more fun because you have less rules.
Yeah.
Because you can just do whatever.
Yeah.
But then you get labeled evil, you get sidelined. In
I really
Yeah,
wanted
that's true.
to be a Ravenclaw, but like most of my family, I'm a Hufflepuff.
I mean, Hufflepuffs are really sweet. I mean, you know,
Yep.
you can be chaotic. You can be like chaotic as you want and still be a Hufflepuff because
Right.
you know you're a chaotic good.
Even Harry had points where he was like not very happy.
Oh.
Even maybe wanted some revenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Well,
Yep.
that makes sense considering he was supposed to be Slytherin.
right.
Not Slytherin. Not Slytherin, eh? Meant to be.
You would
All right, I
do
got a quick
great
one.
in
That was good.
Slytherin.
What's everyone's favorite Harry Potter movie? Mine is The Goblet of Fire.
Mine's Sorcerer's Stone,
That's what's up.
the original.
I'd say The Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah, that one too. That's probably the only one I've seen, but I still consider it a very good
Is that
movie.
the one with Sirius Black? No, that's Azkaban.
He
Sirius Black shows up.
stabbed a giant snake
basilisk,
through
yeah.
the mouth with a sword
which
that
was-
he has
That's still
no
probably, that's still
training
probably one of the
with.
darkest.
Which was an awesome scene, by the way. I mean, come on, really.
Interesting.
I jumped up and screamed out of joy like the second I saw that because I was like, "Let's go!" It was cool.
That's still probably one of the darkest Harry Potter movies, even considering Deathly Hallows. Deathly Hallows got dark, but Chamber of Secrets it's like, oh, let's take this, first-year Ginny, and she's controlled by the ghost of Harry's mortal enemy,
Yeah.
forcing to petrify and even kill some people, right?
What's the girl that she was a blonde girl and she was kind of like, "Hello, Harry," and she
Oh.
just kind of does her
Luna.
own
Luna
thing.
Lovegood.
Yeah.
Luna
Oh,
loved
I
it.
loved her
I
character.
named my first dog after
Oh,
her.
yeah.
love her
I love
character.
Luna.
I have
It's
met
cute.
people I felt are like that in life. They're just kind of like friendly, but they're powerful. On top of being
Yeah.
friendly, they're
Yeah,
really powerful.
She's incredibly smart. Just incredibly
Yeah.
like one of my favorite scenes.
She's incredibly smart in a different way than most
Right.
Ravenclaw are.
Yeah, like one of my favorite scenes. It's a weird scene to have. One of my favorite scenes from Harry Potter is in Order of the Phoenix when, or maybe even Half-Blood Prince. I forget which, where Harry's knocked out in the train, and he's left behind with Luna, and they find I forget the name, but the horses, the skeleton death horses or whatever, they're pulling the carriages.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else thinks they're pulled. They're
The
pulled.
Thestrals.
The Thestrals, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else thinks, oh, there's nothing pulling them. It's magic. But no, it's these horses that you only see if you've seen death. And,
Right.
and Luna
Oh,
Luna sees them because of her mother.
Right.
Harry sees them because of his parents.
Right.
I don't know
Oh,
if it's
jeez.
just that you have to have seen death. I think you have to have seen it and accepted it.
Maybe.
You never know.
I didn't entirely think Harry accepted like everything at that point either. I feel like he didn't accept everything until maybe towards Deathly Hallows where he let himself die to Voldemort.
Oh my god.
Dude, we totally should do a podcast on the hero of 10,000 Faces, Joseph Campbell, because this Harry Potter story is one of those
Oh,
stories.
yeah.
Star Wars is one of those stories with Luke. The Skywalker part is all that story. It's interesting. It's called.
I learned about that
Yeah.
in one of my mythology classes.
It's so crazy when you read it. You'll go, oh man. Anytime you watch a movie, you'll go, hey, I've seen that somewhere. Even though
Yeah.
the characters names might be different or whatever, but the structure of it.
The story structure.
Yeah, it's the same.
That's the
the
reason it's
structure of the hero's journey.
Yep.
I was gonna say the concept of the hero's journey.
Yep. And that's from
everything.
Joseph
Yeah.
Campbell. Yep. That's what. Interesting. Anyway, I didn't mean to throw it up. I just was thinking out loud. I guess.
It's something good to bring up.
Yeah.
Like, the format stories take. You and I had talked before about format of stories and inspirations.
Yeah.
And one weird one that I brought up before this semester started, I watched a bunch of videos about bringing back to video games for this video game
Yeah.
podcast. We'll go back to Harry Potter eventually.
Right.
For video games for this video game podcast, the game Halo ODST. It's a lot of people just another Halo game, but both the side story and even part of the main story in that is formatted the same as Dante's Inferno, going through the 9 circles of hell.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find the hero story and apply it to a lot of different storylines. Like even in Pokemon, he goes through the hero's journey as well.
It's a very different journey, and it took him 20 years.
Yeah, but it applies.
Yes, it does. That
It
story
applies
applies
to every single movie that they made for the Pokemon series as well.
And that's one reason you can enjoy stories that break the format. Like one weird one I always think of was Game of Thrones. It's like, this character won't die, he has his moment, and then you get like Red Wedding
Right.
with Robb Stark.
But there's so much symbology. Like I've done a lot of studying on Moorish history, and a lot of that stuff it's intertwined with Moorish history, and especially when you're dealing with dragons. You start dealing with dragons and different color dragons. You think of like the Lord of the Ring and what those symbolize. It's really interesting stuff, man. It's like I always want to interview like those creators and be like, did you take a history class or something? Because
especially getting mine like Tolkien for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's like
it's not like he wanted to make an English mythology, a mythology for England.
Yeah,
he made one of the greatest fantasy, probably the first big fantasy story out there, and even just the world building and all that inspired so many others. And even just talk about Lord of the Rings itself, I haven't watched Rings of Power. I will never watch Rings of Power. But the general world building itself, specifically with the Hobbit, you like get all this information at once. Right. It's like we need to stop this dragon Smaug. It's like this big, powerful beast of a dragon, and then you don't realize that the biggest dragon in Lord of the Rings universe is 500 times bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, you start to see symbology like when you see like the light represents knowledge. So when Gandalf dies and comes back as Gandalf the White, you're like, oh, he's got the knowledge. Because it's so much symbology. You're like, oh, you can watch it on mute and understand what's going on.
The second coming of Christ. And the best like point out I've heard that is like, when the hobbits and like Frodo and all them see Gandalf die, it's like seeing, it's like my grandfather figure. Right. And then when Aragorn and Legolas see Gandalf die, it's like seeing God be killed.
Right. It's so interesting. Like the dragons breathe fire because, and I don't have to go totally into it, but the Moors, they used gunpowder to conquer a lot of the different areas of Europe. And so a lot of people start referring to them as dragons because those people didn't have the knowledge of gunpowder. So if I come in, I go, and then you have to describe that to someone and you don't know what it is. You're like, you just start making up words, like, or not words, but dragon also it has an etymology to it as well. The word dragon, Draco, and all that, it's all coming from the same rudimentary concept. And it's really interesting, like, especially that Lord of the Rings. I'm not a fan of the movies, but I'm a fan of the symbology. The symbology is incredible. Like, when you watch it, you literally just go like, oh my gosh. Like, that's why I say I would love to interview like those.
What's wrong with the movies, Andrew?
Say what?
What's wrong with the movies, Andrew?
Number one for me, they're just a little long, and I think I was getting a little older when I started watching them. And I literally was like,
I don't mind those long movies. This is some
like
of my favorite movies of all time.
So for instance, like it would take me 4 days to watch one of those movies, just because I just have no attention span.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. And so it's not probably not even the movie. It's just me.
It's like TV show not uncut, and that's one reason. Like I'll sit down to watch those movies. I love those movies, but I'll sit down to watch. I've seen Fellowship probably 10 times as much as I've seen Return of the King, because I'll sit down to watch and be like, I have something else I can do. I'll get through Fellowship, make it about halfway through 2 Towers, like, okay, I'm done.
Oh, and then the 2 Towers, the Eye of whatever. I don't remember all the stuff.
I have Sauron.
When you start looking this stuff up, look at these words up historically, and you're gonna start going.
Yeah, and Tolkien.
You're gonna go, holy cow, this is like. Hold on. This is like this, or this is like
and
that.
People don't know. The first thing Tolkien did for Lord of the Rings was make the Elvish language. Yeah. He made the language and made the story around it.
And then you look up etymology of elf, what the word elf means. It's like all these weird things that are like, you look up why they use snakes, because snakes are used as, they call them serpents because serpent means slander.
Which it was like
a liar.
That's where the phrase slippery snake comes from.
Right. You see what I'm trying to say? You start going, oh, it's like all this stuff. And that's why I say the creators, I'm always like, I would love to interview a creator, because I guarantee they have a huge knowledge of history.
Oh,
just history.
I really loved, like, when they confronted Wormtongue, like who was poisoning the Elf King's mind and working with the dark side, and towards the end where they closer to the war.
Our talking about Lord of the Rings. I'm a little lost here.
Yeah, it is Lord of the Rings.
You said Wormtongue, and I immediately went to Harry Potter again.
I think that was his name, but it was. Remember when they got past the forest and Aragorn had met, like, they got separated They split off after they split off.
Is this when he fell off the cliff? It's like, he fell.
No, when they split off and they had to go chasing after Merry and Pippin because they got kidnapped by orcs.
Oh, this is the start of Two Towers. Okay.
Yeah.
After you talk about Return of the King, when Aragorn's thrown off the cliff, and it's like, where's Aragorn? He fell.
No. When they met the riders of Rohan, and they brought them back, and the king his mind was being poisoned.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I remember Fellowship very well, and then Two Towers, Return of the King got blurry for me because I've seen them less.
Okay. Well,
I know like what you're talking about. It's in Rohan. It's like the king who looks old and like controlled. It's the wizard who's controlling him. I don't remember every single little circumstance from that movie though.
And the hermetic principles, like Two Towers, you said there was a good and a dark side. If you look at this book called The Kabbalion, one of the principles of the hermetic things is balance. Everything's balanced. So, and then one part is everything's a half true. So you make the decision. And if the decision doesn't go your way, you can't blame me because I gave you some of it was true.
That's where Star Wars comes like, balance the force, or one of my favorite lines.
All these movies are, it's like all intertwined, man.
It's like when Obi-Wan goes.
But it was the person who was like whispering all these things in the king's ear, making him more susceptible to being controlled, and it's kind of like the serpent from the story of Adam and Eve, where he tempts Adam and Eve to do all these things that go against God's word. And what I really like the similarity between those two, because it kind of shows a little bit of like religion in a different view. So.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I think all that stuff's interesting. That's why I say, like I said, I just don't have attention span to just sit through the whole movie. But
one of these days, I'll just sit down and spend an entire weekend doing it just so I have that all fresh in my. I do that sometimes. Where I'll just sit down and rewatch stuff I've already seen, just get fresh in my head.
Absolutely.
I constantly rewatch Star Wars because of that. Because I'll like remember all these details. But like, what's this little thing? And this thing I don't know the detail. I can watch it.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. I think it's a good start.
Yeah, and we still have a little bit of time. Like, we started off with the esports program, and then we immediately trailed off into acting and all that, which isn't a bad thing. We still have some time where we can go over some more as well. Sure. We've only been here for 28 minutes.
And just to bring it around back to esports, this is, like, I feel a great way to show, like, everyone from here is like in a different program. You don't have to be in a specific program to be a part of the esports club.
Yeah, I think the only one in the same program as me is Caden, because we have the same class to go down immediately downstairs to. And even then, I think he's taking it for a different certificate.
Yeah, you don't even have to have the same interests. Like,
you don't have to even be a student. You can work here and be part of the club.
Yeah.
I think.
Please hire me.
Just. Me sitting here alone, like, listening to all of this, okay, listen.
I just realized how quiet you were.
For people who know me, most of my interests are things that, aren't as popular or, would no longer be, like the main trend or the main focus. Because you're listening to a person who basically was around when the 3DS became popular. Then they made the 2DS. And then the Switch started to get popular, and then they made all these other Switch things. Not to age myself a little bit, but I mean, the earliest back I can think of is when I played a lot of games on the Wii. I was one of the simple people.
Man, 20 and getting gray hairs already? You're gonna punch me.
Just be lucky that we're inside the podcast studio right now.
Hey, there's no video. If you hear like,
yeah.
I'm like, hey, I don't know what that is.
You have a crack on my jaw.
I'm gonna grab a fake Mega Buster and then actually like make it functioning, just to show
come with those automatic Nerf guns.
I'm gonna turn into a Mega Buster. Yeah.
You have a great voice for this though. You sound like, you ever heard of this actress named Natasha Lyonne?
I've heard the name before, but I've never actually seen it.
That's who you sound like.
I think I've heard the name.
That's who you sound like. Like, if I close my eyes, I would think that was her.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people would mistake me as a boy if they
No,
heard this.
no.
Because, like, listen. It's like, my voice is like a little...
Oh, her.
Yeah.
I just looked over and touched the
How would I explain this? It's like... I don't know. I feel like it's a little mid to low range. It's not, like, as high-pitched unless I, like, force it to be high-pitched. It's not this. It's
Are you from Pueblo?
Yeah, I've been born in Pueblo.
Are your parents from Pueblo?
One is from Trinidad, the other is from Aguilar.
Okay.
They're relatively close.
Okay.
I was gonna say because are you from Pueblo, Christina?
Katrina.
Katrina, sorry. I'm sorry. Like all those like types of names blend together. Me and you and I have not talked very much before this podcast. I'm like, what's the name?
You can just call me Katie if it's easier to remember.
I don't think it helps that your name is exactly one of those stupid. Like its name is some memes where I hate
Hurricane
like
Katrina.
Marla Hurricane Tortilla.
I was about to say that, yeah.
I can tell you so many stories from my childhood about being called Hurricane Katrina.
That's terrible.
I didn't even think about that until now.
last
I'm
name's
not going to
Nunn.
use that. Don't worry.
People were praying to me most of my life growing up. They'd be like, bless you. I'm like, what are you doing? So they were doing all that stuff when I was
We
coming up.
pray for your lost hair.
Yeah, they were all...
Oh no, it was
You had
all
Nunn hair.
Hurricane Katrina.
I swear, my 7th and 8th grade year, that's all anyone says. Like Hurricane Katrina, like Hurricane. I'm like, please shut up.
If you don't go through a little childhood of like people messing with your name, I mean, I think that's so normal.
I've had a couple of things, my last name is Baker, so, oh, so you go bake things? And then, when you get to the point where people get the concepts, so I'm Gage.
Oh my god.
Take away the second half of the name, we'll just call you Gay. I'm like, okay.
Yep. People always try stuff.
If you want to talk about someone who went through something with their last name, my last name is Valentine.
Oh, I can only imagine.
At least once a year on Valentine's Day, people make the joke, are you secretly Cupid? I'm like,
Oh, that's a good joke, though.
I swear to God, if you say that
But that's a good joke.
You can almost say that. I thought that would be like flirting with you, is like those kind of lines.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
That's a good joke, though.
Or be
Like, are you secretly Cupid? I wouldn't be upset about that at all.
Or be like, oh, you get a day to yourself for the entire year?
Yeah.
Selfish.
I
Yeah, I
mean, it
would
might
be
as
the-
well be. Like, god dang, dude.
You could have way worse ones than that. So,
I know, but I hated that so much still.
so you never used your last name as like part of your like gamer tag or anything?
Nah.
No.
Rule number 1 of gaming online, never give out your
Your
full
real name, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about that
That's why I
is,
go by Alex.
the first time I ever got an Xbox gamer tag, my dad made that mistake of making the full gamer tag, which back then you had to pay to change.
Right.
Gage Baker 597.
Oh, no.
I've since changed it multiple times,
Yes.
and as recently as everyone knows in the program, it's set to Shad Vizsla now, which
Right.
Why is it called that anyway? I'm curious.
Shad was the name of a villain in an old web series I used to watch. That kind of stuck around for a long time. And Vizsla is a clan name from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pre-Vizsla, Paz Vizsla, most recently the Mandalorian characters of that.
Makes
It's a
sense.
Mandalorian clan name is what I've kept it as. Which is why in most of everything, my icon is the Mythosaur skull from Star Wars.
Yeah, I have several, but the one I use here is Professor Drew. And that was only because I couldn't think of anything else at the time.
I mean, it's still a good, like, professional front. I mean,
Yeah.
at least it's better than Italian weeaboo.
Yeah, but I have the was it the Jedi
The Jedi Order symbol.
yeah, I have that symbol.
Yeah, mine is just Annie Pop.
Anyways, Katrina. We talked about how Alex from here. Both Andrew and I are from Missouri.
Right.
He's from St. Louis. I'm from Springfield. So were you born in Colorado or were you born somewhere else?
I was actually born in California.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I moved here when I was around 10, 11 years old. So I was about to turn 11 soon when we moved here.
And how old are you now?
I am 23.
I feel so young here. Sometimes I look like I'm older than Andrew. Meanwhile, I'm the youngest here. I'm 18. But I also moved here around 2016. I was 11, getting ready to turn 12 when we moved out here. So I've been here for almost 8 years. By April, it would be 8 years, I think.
I've been here about 11 years, but I'm 47, so I've been here about 11 years. I don't feel
Yeah,
47
the
except when I
weirdest
stand up.
experience I'd have to say about moving to here from California is that apparently, according to some other kids who were around my age, I had an accent.
You don't notice it when you're from there, and then you're around everybody else and you notice it. Not as much for me here, unless I'm not to make this a race thing, talking to Hispanic people who were born here, because there's mostly Hispanics here.
Right, in Pueblo, yeah.
Well,
We're a Hispanic Serving Institute. PCC is.
Yeah, everybody here. Like, back in Missouri, especially in me and Intros in Missouri, you get a range of accents. The more north of Missouri you are, the more normal you sound. And you get to someone like me where I could be speaking normal for a minute and I go straight into a southern redneck accent like this.
Yeah, Missouri's like that. I mean, I moved around a lot, so my accent has definitely changed. Like when I hear a video of myself in high school, I sound totally different than I do now.
And I think it helps that my dad is from Kansas as well, and from a part of Kansas where that accent is the norm. And my mom is from even more south than I am, because her dad, my currently only living grandparent, her dad has that hard southern accent. Yeah. Like not straight, howdy partner, how about we get my pickup truck? Yeah. Not that, but he does have the constant.
You can just hear it like a drawl.
Like he doesn't have that, it's more of a drawl. Yeah. He has that constant accent. I don't, but I could slip into it. And I feel like the only reason I don't is because of the mix between my mom and my dad.
Oh yeah. And like I said, when you move around a lot, it'll dilute itself. You won't notice it until you go back and talk to family, and they'll be like, man, you sound a little different.
I feel like because I'm around like my parents and even now extended family so much, my accent has never left. Yeah. Maybe dulled a little, but it's never left.
Pueblo has an accent. Like my wife, she's from Pueblo. Yeah, I can hear it. Like I've been with my wife since 1996, and I can still hear it just as clear as day.
What does it sound like even?
My wife is Mexican American. So she has a little bit of like a Hispanic accent, but it's a Pueblo accent. There's a couple different Pueblo accents.
Okay.
Like sometimes in Pueblo they'll say "use guys," stuff like that, where I never heard that. Or they'll say like "no sir," like you say something that kind of excites and "oh no sir," and I had never heard that before in my life until I moved here. And even Pueblo has a handshake that's different from anywhere else. Like put your hand out. In Pueblo they do this a lot.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah.
I've never done that a day in my life growing up.
I've done it a lot in like high school and in middle school. I've definitely done that handshake a lot.
I've done it, but only when like someone else starts it. I never start because in Missouri you give a normal. I almost said southern handshake. Normal handshake, and then that's just it.
Yeah, you do that, or you do the whole. You kind of do that, and everybody has different ones. But in Pueblo, I've seen it universally. People do that same one like that. Yeah. So it's like a bunch of little. Pueblo's an interesting place. Interesting place.
Yeah,
no one on this podcast is gonna know what handshake we're talking about.
It's when I'll describe it. It's when you put your hand out like a regular shake, slide your hand through, and then give the fist pump.
Yeah, it's like, ow.
And I remember the first time somebody did it to me, I was going to shake their hand, I was like all confused.
Oh yeah, it throws me off so hard.
Bony knuckles.
I was all confused, so I just started labeling it the Pueblo handshake. Because I was like,
I've seen anyone else do it. I go to Springs and nobody does it.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do it except here.
Well, Pueblo also has something that my mom and I call the Pueblo effect. You can go anywhere and you will meet someone you know. Like you will meet your doctor at the supermarket.
I haven't had that every time. The last time I can remember having that is, like, clearly, was when I went to Walmart one time. This is like a year and a half ago. I doubt he still works there because he was lazy for everything. A guy I went to corn with named Lorenzo, and I don't say a word when looking him in the eye. I don't think he recognized me at all because at this point I had a thicker beard and my hair was starting to grow longer. For those who don't know, I have long hair tied back in a ponytail most of the time. And so I look him over and I'm like, it's him. So I immediately turn and don't face him. And my mom's like, dude, the whole time. She's friends with his mom on Facebook. Right. But she doesn't recognize him. And he doesn't recognize me, so I don't say anything.
Right.
Well, obviously, yeah, because why would you bring that up and open up that can of worms,
because I don't like social interactions, especially with people I didn't like 3 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, my God,
But, the reason we call it the Pueblo effect is because that pretty much never happens in California.
Well, California is a big state, too. And I feel like it helps that even if you're not meeting them, everyone is connected in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because even if I didn't know him, even if I hadn't met him in my 1 year at Corwin,
yeah,
my mom was still friends with his mom on Facebook. because they worked at
Yeah,
the state
even
hospital.
if you don't know that specific person, you probably have someone that you both know.
or you're connected in some long chain of social interaction.
Yeah, exactly. But in California, that is so rare. Like, to help you get an idea of just how big of a chance it would be to meet someone you know, you don't measure distance by miles in California. You measure distance by the time it takes you to get there.
Like an estimated time.
Yeah.
Especially L.A. L.A. is definitely like
I
that.
feel like I've just done it my entire life. My entire life, I couldn't tell you the mileage between Springfield and Kansas City. I know it takes about a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
Same
what,
way.
That's what you would say. You wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm like 10 miles out." You would say, "Oh, it looks like I'll be there in an hour."
Yeah, and it might take a bit longer depending on traffic. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I remember when we still lived in Missouri. I have 3 older siblings that are. If my dad ever listens to this, he's probably gonna kill me. But I'm just gonna say this because I don't mind saying it. I have 3 older siblings that are not my mother's. So I have an older sister I've only met once, and I have two other older siblings who I'm much closer with. My older sister Cheyenne and my older brother Zane.
Right.
Back in Missouri, after we first met them when I was around 7, every summer we would go up from Springfield to Warrensburg, which is about a 2-hour drive to go and get them. And I would always see the landmarks to go by. I see the Cracker Barrel. We're about an hour and a half out.
Right.
We go across the bridge, across this risen lake where woods used to be. And you can still see treetops peeking out from the water. Like, okay, we're about 20, 30 minutes out. I never think of it as mileage. I think of it as time from like where we're going.
Right.
Yeah. I still mostly think of like getting from place to place in the amount of time it takes to get there. So when I tell people like when I'm going to meet someone, I'll say, it says I'll get there around this time, and I'll give them the time it says that I'm going to arrive. Usually with like at least a 5 minutes to allow for traffic or something.
Right.
And even if I look at mileage, I always look at time. Like whenever I look at distance, I'm like, okay, here's the mileage. How long on average does it take me to get there? That's why the only reason I remember it's like, it's a weird example to use. 2.2 miles between my house and Pueblo Boulevard GameStop. I know the distance because I've looked at the map. But I also know like by car it takes like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
By
even
walk it takes about 45.
Yeah, even in the suburbs, like in California, traffic there is terrible. So my mom and I kind of laugh whenever someone from Pueblo complains about traffic because we're like, you don't know real traffic until you've been to California during rush hour.
To be fair, traffic here isn't like, it's not baby traffic either. It's still bad, but I imagine not as bad as it gets out there. Hell no.
Yeah.
Most of what contributes to the badness of Pueblo traffic is the fact that people in Pueblo don't seem to care about ice or road conditions. They just ignore it and do whatever.
And it's something that we pointed out when my dad was still taking me up to county. The city has a couple of snowplows, or is it city or county that has the snowplows? Remember, like, we talk about how city might have them, but county doesn't, or county has them, but city doesn't. I don't remember which it is.
Not sure.
I think it's county.
County has it, or county doesn't have
I
it.
think county has it.
I think we talked about this, like, trying to get out to the main road to get out to county is like, it would be hell trying to get past the ice. And then we got there, it's like, oh, county has their own snowplows.
Yeah.
So I'm moving on to next topic since we're kind of running this one out. Moving back around to video games because we kind of went a little longer there.
Yep.
What made you guys want to like join the esports program? Like, what's your history with video games as a whole? Like, what was like the first one you played that got you into it, and did that also lead you to join the esports program?
I played Pong. I'm dead serious. My dad bought a console home when I was a little kid. And then the next one I can just flash remember was Miss Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man's a good one.
Yeah,
that
Miss
is
Pac.
a
And I
good
remember going to the arcade, and then when Donkey Kong came out, it was a wrap. I was hooked. When Donkey Kong came out, because it was hard. It was a little harder. It had a different whoops! I hit the mic. It was a different structure to the actual screen. It was you were going vertical and you were going side to side. I mean, Pac-Man, you're doing all that, but it doesn't visually look the same. And that's the ones. Those are the two right off the bat. They're not cool anymore to me, but back then they were.
Mine's a weird one, and I get made fun of this a lot for being a weird one. My first video game was Lego Star Wars Complete Saga.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not
I actually
bad.
still have
what
that.
What you mean?
That's not weird.
I just get made fun of it sometimes, but that's the first I'm sure there's more I played before that, but the first conscious one is like being 3-4, playing that game in my dad's Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. I regard it so much. I've talked about this before, just never in recorded format. About December last year, not 2022, 2021.
Right.
I had an issue with the profiles I shared between me and my dad for maybe a total of 15 years.
Man.
Got locked out of it because the password didn't want to work across consoles, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Right.
So that's 15 years worth of progress. Probably $2,000 worth of digital games gone.
Man.
So at that time, that year, I just started a new profile. And I'm an achievement hunter, so I do achievements on as many games as I can.
Right.
First game I did without playing anything else that I was done with it was Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. I was like, if there's a way to start this profile, it's that game. That's how much I regard that game and why I still love playing Lego games today. I'm playing through Skywalker Saga right now. I played the lab today.
Yeah. Man.
What about you guys? What was your first game?
So again, I don't know. The first console I had was a Wii. I'd go back further on that, but no one knows what a Game Boy is.
I do.
I know.
I didn't grow up with Nintendo. I had a DS for like a year. When I was a kid.
I remember the original.
I had a Game Boy Color.
Oh, nice.
I've played Game Boy games since then, but like Pokemon Fire Red was my first proper Pokemon game. That's still my favorite Pokemon of the few I've played because Violet isn't good.
Fair. But the earliest I can think back, one of the first ones I had was Mario Party 8. That one is like,
I remember that.
oh my god. I was at a sleepover at a
love
friend.
that.
Yeah, at a friend's house, right? I go into this room and there's like a parrot in there or something. I turn around, there's this like giant TV with a shelf of games. The second I saw Mario Party 8, I probably stayed in there for at least like 3 or 4 hours playing Mario Party.
I played Mario Party 8 against my mom and my uncle.
Oh.
I won.
Oh my god, it's
And
real.
I was spending my coins willy-nilly.
Oh my
I
God.
had no strategy absolutely whatsoever, and they were trying to be strategic with what they were getting.
Yeah.
But I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm gonna get it.
Just splurging on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I beat them.
Oh my
And they were like, huh?
You're like, how'd you do that? You're impulse buying. You're just like, I don't know. I wasn't even trying to probably.
And back then, I was really obsessed with Peach, so I was Princess Peach.
Dude, honestly, same. Then I got into like the whole meme thing with Waluigi, and then like cut today when I still play that, I play as Waluigi now for the meme.
You and Kane were playing Modded Smash, and you were playing the Lethal League map on that, and Kane keeps going, come and catch his wax.
Oh my god. I mean, technically I was playing as Zero from Mega Man X, but I mean...
Kane was playing as Waluigi, and you kept saying, I'm sitting there playing, I brought my Xbox One in today, so I'm sitting there playing Injustice, and I play as Deadshot, so I watch that video screen, and my right side here, come and catch his wax.
So my first console game actually was also a Wii game, but it was Wii Sports Outdoors.
Oh, I never heard of the Outdoors one. I've heard of Wii Sports Resort, and...
Yeah, Wii Sports was a package game. Resort came out right before the console died.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember because I tried doing the kayaking and I got really frustrated with
Oh my
those
god,
logs.
it is frustrating, dude.
With those logs just rolling out of nowhere.
That leads me into, sorry, you go on.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
You go on.
I remember another one where it's like the sword fighting. You go on like this little journey, right? And you have these hearts. You travel along this path and you have to like attack these opponents that come at you, like to progress through the stage. Some of them was like, you know, like you go across a bridge, you go inside this castle. The last one was a volcano. You go inside of a volcano and then fight this giant boss guy. It just, I don't know, makes me think of Mario when you're fighting Bowser.
Yeah.
You talk about the Wii Sports thing, it makes me think of, it leads to my next topic, which is games you played with your family. And you reminded me of that. Reminded me, there are a few games we played as a family that we don't do anymore. We really don't do anymore. A few games come to mind, like my dad would play some Madden. He would kick our ass. We would play Rock Band as well. We'd have some fun with that. I'm playing that again just by myself because no one else wants to play. And then we did Kinect Sports for Xbox.
Oh my god.
And it was mainly bowling, but the frustration with some of that on there is exactly what I feel with you. And they tried to release another Kinect Sports for Xbox One. It didn't do well. Kinect Sports Rivals is not a good game. The original Kinect Sports was so much fun, especially the bowling.
Same.
So what are some games you guys played with your family?
So my family actually, growing up, growing up, my family is really widespread throughout all the different states. So we didn't really get together a whole lot. So most of the family games that I played were the time that I played Mario Party 8 with my mom and my uncle. And I would sometimes play Pokemon with my older brother on his Game Boy. So.
Did you play on separate Game Boys, like using the cable, or did you just take turns?
No, he taught me how to choose the right attacks and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, here's a hint, don't use the status one. Choose everything that hurts them hard.
Note to self, don't use the status.
I mean, the first time that he let me actually borrow his game and try to win a battle, I was using a Pikachu, so.
Okay,
yeah.
We gotta say this. Which starter of Gen 1?
I don't know. I didn't really look. He didn't allow me to mess around with the buttons a whole lot.
Have you not played Pokemon since then? Have you played a game where it's like you pick a starter?
Oh, yeah. I've played a lot of Pokemon since then. So.
What kind of starter do you usually go for? Like, say the original 3, Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. Which one do you choose?
I'd have to say I would choose probably either the grass or the fire starter, not the water.
That hurts. Squirtle crew forever.
I would choose the water because, like, it can go hand in hand. Because, like, I mean, you know, sure, if you're up against a plant type first, it can be a little bit of a disadvantage. But I mean, water would be good for stuff like electricity and fire. Obviously. So.
I have one counter for you against that.
Okay.
Misty.
Makes sense. I cannot argue with that.
See, I talk about choosing the Squirtle. Meanwhile, I'm playing Valor. I chose the grass type because I thought the duck was ugly.
I mean, he's got a rockin' pompadour. I mean,
and then as soon as I choose the grass type, Nimona chooses the water type. I'm like, well, good luck with that. I'm a grass type. Have fun in the rivalry battles.
I chose the cat too. Me and my little sister chose the cat because, I mean, it's a cat. It's cute. Like, dude.
I actually chose the fire croc.
Oh,
we're almost out of time. All right, well, seems like we're running low on time. We'll have to save some more Pokemon battles for next year. Squirtle is the best starter at me.
And more video games.
I will at you.
But this has been the first official episode of the esports podcast. How well do you guys think we did this one?
I think we did great. I think we need to thank Gabe at Trio.
Gabe.
Lucero.
Gabe Trio here on the public campus. So we thank him for renting us this room for however long we need it. I hope to host these podcasts for the next year I'm here.
I hope to be here for more of these. This was honestly kind of fun.
Right, well,
I think this was awesome, man. I think you did a great job. I think you did a great job directing the conversation as well.
Yeah, I would point out to our audience, I had like 4 things listed out, and we only got to 2 of them.
Hey, so we got more.
And that means we have plenty enough for whenever we record this next. Will this be we record this on a Tuesday or a Friday?
Yep.
Yeah. Next time, Squirrel's still best starter, and so thank you this for the esports.
Those are fighting words.
Slip that in there real quick.
Those are fighting words.
This for the PC Esports podcast. I'll probably have a title by the time this goes.
Battle like next time.
I know.
I challenge you to
We'll have a proper
battle.
title by the time this goes up on YouTube and Spotify. This has been Gage Baker. I'm here with our director Andrew, Katrina, and Alex. Thank you everybody, and have a good night.
Bye bye.